Good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon. What else? Good midday, good brunch, good lunch. We are back with another session here at Voice in the Wilderness. My name is Maxie. I'm glad to be with you again today. Today we are going to talk about the standard. We're going to talk about the standard. And when I refer to the standard, I mean the standard, the what is expected of us. What is expected of us? If you have heard my teaching on what are we going to do, what do we do it forever? If you heard what is man, if you heard who is Israel, if you heard any of those teachings, you should have gotten this message. There is a creator who created the universe according to the biblical narrative. I believe the biblical narrative. I believe the Bible. I believe what is written. I believe God spoke from the beginning and he created everything that we see, taste, touch, everything that we know about. I believe that he is everything that he says he is. And if there are issues, if there are problems, if there are misunderstandings, it's with us and not with him. And I believe it's our mandate. If we want information or if we seek information, is to go to him to get that information, not necessarily to another person or to another human being. Now, human beings, we were created in his image, as we have studied. We were created in his image. He imprinted, he carbon copied himself. The man is the memory, and the woman she bears part of that memory because she came from the man. But more intrinsically, she is the womb. She is the womb for the seed. She is the womb for the seed of God. And I don't want to go into that again because we have dealt with that at length in those teachings that I called out. And so today we want to go further into the standard and he who created the standard. And if we are to find our way back to him, we have to know the standard and we have to excuse me, we have to walk back. We have to walk backward, we have to remember. And I'm reminded here of a little skit that I saw on Sesame Street years and years ago. I was a kid at the time. And Sesame Street was one of my most popular programs. And it was a conversation between an elephant and a mouse. And the mouse or the elephant, one of them lost their way. I think it may have been the elephant. It's the elephant of memories that last forever. But in this skit, I think it was the elephant who lost his way, if I could remember clearly. And the question was asked, how do I find my way back to where I came from? And the answer was, walk backwards in your mind. You see, no, the answer was, don't you remember? Do you remember? And the question was asked. Now remember, this is a conversation between the elephant and the mouse. I can't remember who was asking the questions and who was not. It was a long time ago, okay? But let's not focus on the elephant or the mouse. Let's focus on the conversation, the question. The question was asked, how do I find my way back home? And the response to that question was, don't you remember? And the response to that question was, what is remember? And the answer to the question, what is remember, was, remember is walking backwards in your mind. And I said all of that to say, if we have to go back to God, if we have to find our way back to God, we have to go walk backwards in our mind, in our memory. We are the memory of God in the earth. And as a result, getting back to Him, it's there. It's in there. We just have to, as I said in the previous teaching, we just have to get rid of this virus that has dominated us, and that is attempting to dominate us throughout our lives. And the way to get rid of the virus is to get into the Word of God and to read it, to read it, to read it, and to read it. Don't listen to the preacher. Don't listen to the teacher. But listen to the Word. Read the Word and let the Word erase. Let the Word cleanse, clean the virus off of the hard drive. And when the virus starts to fall off the hard drive, the memory is right under there. Okay? So we want to talk about the standard and the standard bearer. And today I want to start in Deuteronomy. Okay? I want to start in Deuteronomy. And we're going to read a few passages here and there. We might read some passages from the back of the book. What I like to call the back of the book the renewed covenant. We might read a couple of passages there, but I want to start off in Deuteronomy. I want to start off here, and then I want to go to Genesis, probably Genesis 2, and then and further along. So let's read. Let's go into Deuteronomy chapter 11. Deuteronomy chapter 11. Okay, just so you know, I'm going to talk a little more and give you some time to find that. Front of the book, first 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 11. And we're going to start reading in verse 1. We're going to read all the way down. We're going to try to read the whole chapter, right? But you know me, as we read, I'm going to kind of jump in, crisscross, use some references and so on and so on and so on to just expound and just dig up the fallow ground even more. All right. So Deuteronomy chapter 11, you should have been there by now. Verse 1. Therefore, this is the man Moses speaking. Therefore, and he starts off with verse 1. Therefore, you, his audience, the people who he's speaking to, which at the time was the children of Israel. So I'm speaking to you. If you're listening to me, I hope that you would have considered yourself a child of Israel, right? A son of God, right? And you would be listening. So these words I'm repeating to you. Therefore, you shall love Jehovah your Elohim and keep his instructions, his statutes, his ordinances, and his commandments always. What is that word? Always. What is that word? Always. It means always. You are to always not just love him, but you are to always love him and keep his commandments or his instructions, his statutes, his ordinances, and his commandments, right? And we have to keep them always. How long? Always. To stop when? Always. Never stop. Always. Okay? Verse 2. Know this, for I don't speak with your children who have not known and who have not seen the chastisement of Jehovah your Elohim, his greatness, his mighty hand, his outstretched arm, his signs, his works, which he did in the middle of Egypt to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and to all his land. So he's talking to the children of Israel who had come out of Egypt, right? The story of the children of Israel going into Egypt began in ending of Genesis, beginning of Exodus. Okay, and they went into Israel with 75 people. That was them. 70 to 75 people, which were considered at that time children of Israel. Right? Wasn't millions or billions? No, 70 or 75. Some people say 70, some people say 75. So we going 70, 75. Okay? They went into the land of Egypt, right? Because Joseph was in the land of Egypt. Joseph was the second in command in Egypt. We know the story, okay? Joseph sent for his dad, his brothers, and his family, and they moved to Egypt, right? And in Egypt, it is said in Exodus, the Pharaoh died. That's the Pharaoh who loved Joseph, the Pharaoh who gave Joseph the rank of, everybody gonna listen to you. You will only be less than me in terms of the throne, right? That's where Joseph was. It was Pharaoh and then Joseph, okay, and so that Pharaoh loved Joseph, gave Joseph command of the entire land, right? And we know about the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of, we know all that story. We're not going into that. Just giving you a little background on who Moses is speaking to here in Deuteronomy chapter 11. And so he's kind of rehashing to them, right? And if you ever read the biblical narrative at any point in time, you will always seem to see this overriding pattern, right? Is always saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Obey my commandments, my statutes, my laws. Do what always remember, right? That's where we start. And how are we going to get back to Yah? How are we going to get back to God? How are we going to get back to where we are supposed to be? By remembering, by memory. You see how important that is? Okay? By memory. It's by telling the story, the Passover story. That's what they were commanded to tell the children during the Passover. Or the night when they sit down for the Passover Seder. They sit down and go over the story. And if your children ask you, what does that mean? You explain to the children, this is what that means. This is where we were. This is what we had to do. And God called us and he brought us out. And so that's how we came out. And you tell the children the whole story. Guess what? It's so awesome that you could sit around your dining table with your children, having dinner with your wife and kids, and have something to talk about. Ain't everybody on the cell phone trying to be on Facebook or whatever, all them social media apps and in Twitter and No. Let's have a conversation. We eat and let's have a conversation. Come on, people. Let's have a conversation. So he's talking to the children of Israel and he's explaining to them, right? That listen, I ain't talking to you. I'm not talking to people who have no experience in the manifestations of the miracles, of the power, of the authority of Yah. I'm not talking to people who don't know. I am talking to people who have walked the walk, people who have seen the miracles, people who have seen the Red Sea open, people who have seen the plagues. I ain't talking to your children who do not know, who have not seen, he says. Right? I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you who have known and have seen. And then he went on to explain the signs and the works and what he did in the middle of Pharaoh, in the middle of Egypt, the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and so on. And what in verse 4 it says, and what he did to the army of Egypt, to their horses and to their chariots, how he made the water of the sea of Suf to overflow and as they pursued you. So he's reminding them. How do we get back? How do we get back to the standard? We remember. How do we remember? We go in the Word and we read. Okay? What do? We love Yah always. We keep his instructions always. His statutes always. His ordinances always. His commandments always. Verse 1, 11. Deuteronomy 11, verse 1. Okay? He goes on to say, and verse 5, and what he did to you in the wilderness until you came to this place. And we know they went through the wilderness and they refused to what? Keep the commands, keep the statutes, keep the ordinances and commandments. They did it today, they forgot. The next day, they went and do their own thing. They got punished. They did it the following day, the next day, the day after that, they forgot. They got, it's like do it once and forget. You do it once and forget. Isn't that how it's kind of sound like how we are? The thing, what did Paul say? The thing that I'm supposed to do, the thing that I want to do, the thing that I know to do, that's the thing I don't do. And the thing that I'm not supposed to do, that I'm not supposed to think about doing, that I'm not supposed to want to do, that's the thing that I do. Who's going to help me? Who's going to save me from this dilemma? And his answer was Messiah Yeshua. My answer is Messiah Yeshua is the Word of God. Yes, Messiah Yeshua is the Word. Ask John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So when we look to a man, okay, I agree. But what does the man represent? What does the man represent? And what has the man himself said? If you love me, keep my commandments. If you love me, we just read it for Deuteronomy 11, verse 1. Therefore, you shall love Jehovah your Elohim and keep his instructions, his statutes, his ordinances, and his commandments. When? How? Always. Always. Let's look at the meaning of that word always, please. Let's look at always. Just thought about that. Always. Are you kidding me? Hold on a second. Always. You know what always? You know what's the word that they have in the Strong's dictionary for that word always? Deuteronomy 11. Yom. Wait a second. Isn't that the word for day? Why? Why is that word? Why? I'm talking to you. I'm just thinking out loud. Because that's an interesting choice. It means day, time, year. A 24-hour period. a division of time, a working day, a day's journey, days, lifetime. Ooh. Temporal references, today, yesterday, tomorrow. That's interesting. So we could say that according to what is written here, that we are to keep his commandments, love him and keep his statutes, ordinances, commandments, all that stuff every day, every time, every year, today, yesterday, tomorrow, a lifetime, every period of time, every year. I'm just saying. It is what it is, right? But it seems to me like Deuteronomy 11 reminds me of what Yeshua said. If you love me, keep my commandments. Therefore, you shall love Jehovah your Elohim and keep his commandments and his statutes and his ordinances and his laws and his instructions. Seems fitting to me that they both the same thing. Again, he is the word. So, in order for me not to do the thing that I shouldn't do, in order for me to do the thing that I should do, I had to read the word. I had to love Jehovah and keep his commandments. Makes sense to me, okay? Makes sense to me. So, he's telling them, he's reminding them. Remember, we are talking about the standard that's set and what we need to do to get back to him, to Yah, to God, to El. What we need to do, we need to remember the standard. Remember who set the standard. We need to remember. And in order to remember, we have to read the word. Because we were corrupted, as we discussed many times in the last lessons about the man. What is the man? We were corrupted. A serpent beguiled us. A serpent outsmarted us. A serpent deceived the woman. He outwitted her. And what happened? We're going to go there in a few minutes. But what happened when he outwitted her? Oh, you might be right, Mr. Serpent. He got her to do the thing that she should not have done. Go back to Deuteronomy. I pause because I want you to think about that. Okay, I do things deliberately, people. For me, there's some things I do. Most things I do is deliberate. When I repeat certain things, I repeat it deliberately. I like to do things deliberately because I'm trying to make a point, right? I'm trying to emphasize something. I'm trying to point in a certain direction. I'm trying to point something out to you. Because we hear it one time and, it kind of like, it happens to me. I'm listening to something and I need to stop, kind of like rewind a little bit, play, So I want to go, and my mind drifted off. That's how we are. Okay? So Moses is going over all this, all this history, which happened with themselves. They were part of that. They were there. They felt it. They tasted it. They saw. They heard. Okay. Verse 5, and what he did to you in the wilderness until you came into this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben. This is Dathan. I want you to. Did you hear that? Skirt. Let's rewind the tape. Stop. Play. And what he did to Dathan, Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben. Reuben is one of the 12 tribes. Wait. Reuben is one of the 12 tribes. So, if God was so fixated on physicality, like a lot of people are, I am this and I am that, the son of this and the son of that. If God is fixated on physicalness of who people are, skin color and all that stuff, if he's fixated on that, listen, let's read it again. Let's rewind the tape. I like that. Pause, stop, play. And what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben. What did he do? Let's see if we can find out. Let's go to Numbers chapter 16. Seems like there's a little story in there somewhere. Numbers chapter 16. I'm giving you time to find it. Go. Number 16, go. Let's start reading verse 23. You there yet? Come on, be moving. Okay, 23, you're there. Okay, let's go. Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the congregation, saying, get away from the tent of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Ooh. Moses rose up and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. He spoke to the congregation, saying, depart, please, from the tents of these wicked. Wait. Moses. Wicked men? Wait. Who they were? The sons of Reuben. Reuben, one of the 12 sons of Jacob, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. What am I saying? Listen to what God is going to do to people who were supposed to be part of the tribe of Israel. People who were supposed to be saved. People who were supposed to be Christians. People who were supposed to be Jews. People who were supposed to have love God. People who were supposed to be obedient to God and His commandments. Listen to what He's going to do. Depart, please, from the tents of these wicked men. Moses called them wicked. Ooh, that was harsh. And touch nothing of the. Ooh, that's harsh too. Lest you be consumed in all their sins. So they went away from the tent of Korah and Dathan and Abiram on every side. And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at the door of their tent with their wives and their sons and their little ones. And Moses said, hereby you shall know that Jehovah has sent me to do all these works, for they are not from my own mind. If these men die the common death of all men, or if they experience what all men experience, then Jehovah hasn't sent me. But if Jehovah shall make a new thing, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them up with all that belong to them, and they go down alive into Sheol, then you shall understand that these men have despised Jehovah. These men who Moses is speaking about are part of the congregation of Israel. They are part of the 12 tribes. They are considered children of Jehovah. They are. Okay? So please don't think that you could call God and call on God and, oh, Jesus, 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 Yeshua, 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 whatever, and be wicked and spiteful and bitter and nasty and belligerent and everything else, adulterous and fornicating and whatever else sin and whatever else you could be involved in. Don't think, oh, I'm just Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Because we're going to read something in Matthew where he himself said, depart from me. We're going to get to that. Because you think you all that. You think you got power. I got some power. Oh, get out. I got some power. You think you all that. Okay? And you don't want to heed the word of God because you have been taught for years and years and years. All you got to do is plead the blood. All you got to do is plead the blood and call on the name and call on the name and you're going to be all right. This is, I'm telling you, you better take heed to what you listen to. Verse 31, we still in Numbers, I ain't finished yet. Verse 31, Numbers 16 and 31. As he finished speaking all these words, the ground that was under them split apart. The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households, all of Korah's men and all their goods. I'm just saying, okay? Y'all could continue on believing this foolishness that we have been taught, because I've been taught it too. Okay? I've been taught it too, I've been taught it also. But remember what I said. In order to get back to this standard, we have to understand some things. Okay? Moses said, we're going back to Deuteronomy. So let's go back. Moses said in the first verse in Deuteronomy 11, therefore you shall love Jehovah your Elohim and do his instructions, his statutes, his ordinances, and his commandments always. Always. Now, why is Moses telling them always? And we think it's not always for us. Because we were taught that these things came to an end. But how could it end if he is the word? How could the word end when the word is still the word? How is that? How could that be? How could these things be? Did the word ever say that the word is going to end? God forbid. God forbid. The word of God stands forever. It stands forever. And even if the Word came to the earth and became a man, he is still the Word. He is still the Word. And the Word is forever. So what are we going to do with forever? What are we going to do with forever? Here, what's the people name? Dathan and Abiram. They were believers walking with God. When the cloud rise, they pick up the tent and they walk. When the cloud, they were with God. But they were with him, but they despised him. And Moses proved it, because he said, if God did something different, something new, then you would know that these men despised God. And guess what? Guess what God did? Guess what God did? God did something new. Earthquake. Abiram, Korah, goods. Earth closed back up. No, it's not a pretty thing. It's an ugly thing. It's a gruesome thing. To think, to stand there and see the earth open and see human beings fall in there and then the earth just close up. It's not a pretty sight at all. I bet you they'll never forget that. I bet you that sight scrape off some of that virus that was on some of them. Maybe not, because, we're dealing with people. We're dealing with us. And you know how we stay. We just, for some reason, we just don't like to obey. For some reason. Okay? So them is the people that Moses is talking to. And he's telling them, these people were with us. And you see how God dealt with them. So don't think, because remember, God is a just God. He didn't prefer me over them. So, he will never do me anything. No, he will never punish me. But, you see, that's not, you don't know the ways of Yah. If you think so, you do not know the ways of Yah. Even this, let us say, he chastises those whom he loves. And yet people say, God ain't mad at you. No, he ain't mad. No, I'm telling you, if you're doing stuff that you're not supposed to do, he is mad at you. If you're talking in ways that you ain't supposed to talk, he is mad at you. Yes, he is. So, where were we? Deuteronomy 11. Therefore, 11 and 6. I was trying to find my spot. 11 and 6. And what he did to Dathan and Abiram, and we just went over that. Sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben. How the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, with their households, their tent, and every living thing that followed them. In the middle of everybody, he did it in plain sight. Everybody saw. Right? And again, not a pretty sight. It's not a pretty sight. Verse 7. He said, but your eyes have seen all of Jehovah's great work which he did. Going back to verse 1. In verse 8. 8 is the number of new beginnings. After 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. That's interesting. Go right back. I just saw that right there, right now. Therefore, verse 8, you shall keep the entire commandment which I command you today. Not, well, I'll do this, not that. No, that's past, that's dead. No, I'm going to choose my own day to do Sabbath. Sabbath is not the seventh day anymore. It's the first day. It's the third day. I'm going to do it on the third day. He ain't gonna mind. He ain't fussing. He's cool. You know, G was cool. He's down. Uh, oh boy. Hey, you have at it, and we're gonna see. Okay? Verse 8. Therefore you shall keep the entire commandment, which I command you today. Why? So that you may be strong. Ooh. And go in and possess the land that you go over to possess. So why do we keep why do we obey the commandments? Why is the instruction, why is the word of God, why is the voice of Jehovah keep telling us obey, obey, obey? So that you will be strong. Because when you read and you get it and you obey, it scrapes off the viral infections. Right? I'm talking about the viral infection of sin is what I'm talking about, okay? Because that's the viral infection that got us in Genesis 3. When you read and the more you obey, is the more the virus is being scraped off. Okay? And it could take you a lifetime. It will take you a lifetime, but you got to do it. That's why you got to obey every day. You got to obey always. You got to obey when? Always. 24 hours a day. Every day. Today, tomorrow, yesterday. It's always. So that the virus don't get an opportunity to stick. Not just only that you will be strong, but you will go into the land that he promised you and you will possess it. You'll possess it because you're strong. Okay? Not just that you will be strong, not just that you will go into the land and possess it because you're strong. Verse 9. But also that you may prolong your days in the land which Jehovah swore to your fathers to give to them and to their offspring, a land flowing with milk and honey. So it's not just about obedience, people. It's not just about being legalistic. Oh, you're all so legalistic. Oh, no. If you don't like the law, you're lawless. If you don't love the law, you are lawless. You have no law in you, in other words. If you don't love the law, because God is the law. He is the sheriff in town. And if you don't love him, you don't love the law. You're lawless. And guess what? You will be affiliated with the lawless one. I'm telling you, mark my words, you will be affiliated with the lawless one. You will show that you despise the lawgiver, the standard bearer. Okay? So, not just you would be strong, but you would possess the land that he's sending you in, that your days will be long in the land that he's sending you in. Right? And that the land will flow with milk and honey. Because I'm telling you, if you're disobedient, your land, there ain't no milk and honey flowing in your land. I'm just letting you know, straight up. Okay? Let's skip down some verses. Let's skip down some verses. No. So, no, let's not skip down any verses. Let's stay right there for a minute. So, why is he insistent? Because he keeps saying this. Let's verse 13. Right? Verse 13, he says, "It shall happen, for if you listen diligently to my commandments, which I command you today, to love Jehovah your Elohim, to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the latter." And we love to talk about that early rain and latter rain thing. We love to talk about that. Okay? We love to talk about give me the early rain and the latter rain. But is a if. You only getting the early rain and the latter rain if you diligently obey. If you're operating in diligence according to the standard and the standard bearer and his standards. This is not erased. This is not done away with. This hasn't been brought to an end. This is he said always. Always could be another word. You could say always and forever might be synonyms. It all depends on the context, of course. Okay? Verse 16. We're still in Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 16. It's a warning. Be careful, lest your heart be deceived and you turn away to serve other gods and worship them. How do you worship a God? How do you worship God? See, we talk a lot about God. We talk a lot about loving God, and we talk a lot about worshiping God. And we go to church. A lot of people on Sundays, which I don't have an issue with going to church on Sunday. The issue that I have is Sunday is not really the day to worship God. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let me put it like this. Like I used to tell a good buddy of mine, God has appointed a day, okay, that is set aside from every other day. As a matter of fact, he has appointed quite a few days that's set aside from other days. But the one day in particular that I'm talking about is that seventh day. The seventh day that he himself set it aside for himself. We had just come into the picture. I look at my eyes there just now and it looked like I woke up from a little sleep. That's how my eyes looked. It's like we had just woken up. He had just created us. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, okay, my creation is done. I'm finished. I'm done. I'm resting on the seventh day. I'm resting. I'm done. And I'm blessing the seventh. This is like me pretending to be God speaking. And I'm blessing the seventh day because I want it to be set apart. That's what holy means. right? We talk about that. If you was listening to the teachings gone by, we talk about what holy is and what holy means, right? We talk about it being set apart. It's anything that is set apart is called holy. That's the English word, but in the Hebrew context, it's set apartness. It's whatsoever is set apart, right? And a lot of things were set apart. So the day that I'm talking about is the seventh day that Yah rested on, and he set it apart from the other 6 days, and he blessed it. Listen, he set it apart and he blessed it. And then he commanded us to remember it. Exodus 20, right? Remember the Sabbath day and keep it set apart. Keep it set aside. Keep it separate from the other days. But you know what? You, in the back of the book, in the renewed covenant, you gonna tell me, which I grew up hearing, you could worship God on any day. Any day is a Sabbath day. Well, if this is what the logic doesn't jive, okay, the glove doesn't fit. This is Elohim, this is Yah from the beginning. Took a day, set it apart. He didn't work. He blessed that day that he set apart, that he never worked in or on, and then continuously commands us to remember that day. So he did all of that, knowing that he was going to set it up, he was going to abandon it at some point. Really? That's what you teach in the. I'm not putting Christianity down. I'm not putting you all down. I'm just saying to people who have been taught that, and people who teach that, and people who have heard it, think about it for a second. Does it make sense that you would work so hard and do all of that to make something, share it with everybody, only and fuss about it and fight about it and argue about it? Not argue, God don't argue. But I'm using those words so that we will understand what I'm saying. He continuously obey my command. Obey. Do. Keep. He's just saying it over and over. He go through all of that, fully knowing that when Yeshua comes, he's going to end it. We could choose any other day. Really? That just does not make any sense. It just doesn't. And you can't convince me that it does. So the challenge for us is we have to examine these things and really get the correct perspective, the correct perception. God, this doesn't change. He's schizophrenic. He doesn't say something now and then don't mean it tomorrow. If he says something is forever, it's forever. He's not like us, that he lies. Doesn't lie. Always speak the truth. So, went on a little rant there, but hey, I apologize. He said, be careful. 11 and 15, Deuteronomy 11 and 15. Be careful, lest your heart be deceived. Okay, heart, mind, soul. Those three words are intertwined, they are interchanged. Okay, and Dr. Young, I was thinking about him over the last few days because I did a study years ago, and I was trying to remember, as a matter of fact, where I have the actual study, because I wrote it down and stuff like that. I studied the word for heart and the word for mind and the word for soul, and the context in which they were used. And Dr. Young makes the comment in his dictionary, the Young's dictionary. I had a little one. It was like thick like this. It was a little yellow book. It was probably 6 inches by 4 inches by. It was thick like about that. And Dr. Young said that some of the words, and I went in Job and some verses in the Psalms and in Proverbs and stuff like that. Some of the words that I use for heart and for soul and for mind actually were words that described our parts of our body, like the liver and the pancreas and certain physical parts of our body. Okay, that's how the Hebraic, that's the Hebrew language. The language is fixated, it's concrete, it's not abstract and mystical and mythical, even though those things could be implied, right? Abstract things could be implied, but it's the language, when you dig into it, it's rooted into something tangible. Like in the book of Hebrews, in the renewed covenant, it says faith is the substance of things hoped for. The substance, right? A substance is not, it's nothing mythical or mystical. A substance is substantive. It's, what I'm saying. That's not what I'm trying to say. So he said, be careful that your heart is not deceived. And you turn away to serve other gods and worship them. With that, remember that. Let's go to Genesis. Let's start in 2. Genesis chapter 2. Chapter 2 and 16. Here it is. We've talked about this in the study, What is Man? But is when we're dealing with the standard, when we're dealing with the standard and the standard bearer, and what by standard I mean our constitution, the human constitution, the rules and laws and commandments and statutes and regulations that the human being is supposed to operate within. Okay, that's what I mean when I'm talking about when I say the standard. In Genesis chapter 2 verse 16, it reads as follows: Jehovah Elohim commanded the male, the man, the human being, because you could infer the man means all three things, because in that moment it was just the man, it was just the male, and the man and the male was a human being. He commanded all three entities, if you will, saying, you may freely eat of every tree of the garden. Start with the good news. But you shall not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it, you will surely die. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3. And what happens? We know about the conversation between the serpent and the woman. And what happens? He outwitted her. And what happens? She disobeyed. Yeah, forget. Listen, when we want to get into the eyes is what you look at, and the ears is what you hear, and the nose is what we get into all that theological stuff. Simple. She disobeyed what she was told. The thing that she was not supposed to do, according to Paul, was the thing that she did do. Okay? She disobeyed. And what is the instruction? You will eat freely from any tree in this garden, except for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because in the day, in the moment, in the time, in the moment that you eat of it, you will surely die. And what she did might be a few verses. Well, we don't know the passage of time, right? We don't know how long it was between God putting the man there, between God creating the woman, between God, between the man telling, because she knew what she was supposed to do and what she was not supposed to do, because she was going back and forth with the serpent, right? Gossiping. She was gossiping with the serpent, because that's what he does. That's what his name means. The hissa. His gossip. I like that. I did that the other day. I like that. That was funny. She disobeyed. And that's the kicker. That's the key. She disobeyed and was deceived in her heart. What did Moses just say? Let's go back. Let's go back. 11, Deuteronomy 11, and what was the verse? 16. Be careful lest your heart be deceived, which her heart was deceived, and you turn away, which she disobeyed. Disobedience is turning away. Okay. Disobedience is turning away, not turning to. I am pleading, and I'm encouraging, and I'm pushing, and I'm begging, and I'm speaking, I'm saying, turn to him, not away. And the way to turn to him is to be obedient. Is to be obedient, is to remember, is to read the word and do. Keep and do and obey. That's how you turn to. When you disobey, you turn away. So be careful lest your heart be deceived and you turn away. And what happens when you turn away? You serve other gods and worship them. And what does it mean to worship other gods? What does it mean to worship God? It means obey him. When you obey him, when you do what he asks you to do, that's a form of worshiping him. That's how you show him you love him. What did Yeshua say in the gospel? If you love me, keep my commandments. Obey my commandments. Do what I ask you to do. That's how you show me that you love me. Don't tell me you love me and then do something different. Don't tell me you love me and show me that you don't. Okay? So, it's simple, people. It's simple. It is simple. This is how we get back. This is how we get to the standard. Not ignore the standard and think we are the standard. Not ignore the standard and think that we will get away with it. Not ignore the standard and do whatever we choose to do because we think we're safe. Because you may not be safe. You may not be safe. Her heart was deceived, so she began to turn away. Her eyes began to see stuff. All of a sudden, she became, as he said, like God. Well, what does that mean? What is... Let's go there. Let's go there. Let's go there. Genesis 2. 3. My bad. Let's go there. He told her. For God knows, 3 and 5, that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like El, knowing good and evil. No, he don't want you to know good and evil. He don't want you to be like him. And she bought into the lie. She bought into the gossip. And her heart was deceived. Where does sin begin? Not out here, you know. It begins in there. It's inside. It begins inside. It begins internally. And it manifests itself externally. Right? So what you begin to perceive, remember, perception, everybody's perception is what I say, perception is your perception is your reality. So if you perceive something a certain way, to you, that thing is going to be the way you perceive it. Right? That's going to be your reality. So that's why I focus on getting the correct perception. Because once you get the right perception, your eyes begin to open the other way. Like what happened to Paul when the scales fall off. Okay? When the scales fall off, your eyes open in the other way. They open in the other direction. Right? So that's how she was deceived. So it started in the heart, and guess what? It started to manifest externally. So she began to see things that things begin to look a certain way. Let's read what happened. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, well, what do you mean you saw the tree was good for food? He never said it's not good for food. He said, I don't want you eating from it. Because everything good, not because it's good, not because pork tastes good, means that you should eat it. Not because bacon is so delicious, means you should eat it. Okay? And that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise. Wait a second. Why is she trying to be wise? I thought they were both naked. They were both a room and unashamed. They were both cunning. They were both shrewd. They were both smooth. They had suave, they were dab and debonair, they had swag. I thought they were already those things. So what is it that this thing is being said that is making her think that the things that she is now seeing and feeling, and it's new to her? What is the thing? See, here's the thing. Here's the kicker. Go back to the verse before. See, she was thinking, because he had said, the hisser over there, he had said, for God knows, in the day that you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. You will be like God. She was like, oh, I'd be God. Wait a minute, she was already God. We talked about that. But in her, what's the word? Immaturity. Because again, we don't know how old she was. Right? And it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be old and, not wise. Let me say it like that. I was thinking of a couple of the words there, one S word and one D word, but I wouldn't say it. You have old people who, now age is supposed to bring age. With age, you're supposed to attain some wisdom as you age. Right? And Proverbs talk about that. The wisdom of the age, the elder people supposed to be wise. But some people grow up and they just stay immature. They never grow to any kind of level of wisdom. They remain, that word, right? Unwise. And put it like that. And we talked about that, That's what I believe was the real crux of the situation here with these two, the man and the woman. He made them adults, but they were immature. They were young, right? Again, they weren't babies, because babies can't talk. Well, if you ask Paul King Douglas, he'll tell you different. But we don't know. We have no clue how old they were. And that's why I say, that's something to think about. Things that make you go, So she wasn't deceived because she wasn't wise. She wasn't deceived because she didn't know. She was deceived because she lacked complete knowledge and complete understanding and true wisdom in terms of what maturity and age and so on brings, which is how God wanted us to get to begin to know what evil and what was evil and what was good. Paul talks about it. Well, I don't know if it's Paul, but in the book of Hebrew talks about training our senses. Training our senses to be able to discern good from evil. Training our senses. People talk about, don't you can't follow your senses because that's fleshly. That's a lie. Because Paul says it's fleshly if you're not trained. Let me put it like that. It's fleshly if your senses are not trained. That's why the admonition in the book of Hebrews, I think chapter 5, is we have to train our senses. Train, just like you go in the gym and work out and train your muscles. He talk about all of that. We have to train the senses. Sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. Train them. Train them. Train them. So that's what I believe was the real problem in the garden. They weren't properly trained. They weren't properly they weren't ready, if you will, if I could use that word, for that conversation. She wasn't ready for that conversation. Right? She didn't consult the husband. She didn't be like, hey, and he was there. He was, of course. You could read this story and you could infer, because she said she ate, and then she turned and she said, hey, sweetie, here's a piece of mango. And he took and he ate. She didn't tell him nothing about what's going on up in here. Hey, this serpent over here, he tried to tell me about something. Who knows? Maybe just in that conversation, he might have said, "Don't listen to that fool. You already like God. We tell him get thee behind you." Or matter of fact, I'm gonna come over there and step in. How about that? Right? It's simple, guys. It's simple, right? It's simple. And again, Moses says, let's go back, because we're trying to get somewhere. We're trying to get somewhere in the Deuteronomy portion. We're trying to get somewhere, right? Deuteronomy 11 and 16. Moses is saying, be careful. Apply some caution. Walk gently. Be careful in your conversation, in the things you do, in the things you think about, in the things you wonder about. Be careful, lest your heart be deceived. Okay, I want to close. For want of time, I'm gonna skip down. Right? We're gonna come back here next week, and we're gonna go into this some more. We're gonna come back right to Deuteronomy here, but I want to skip down because at this point I want to get at the close. Verse 26. Sometimes I like to deliberately go slow. All right, so forgive me if you think I'm boring you. In this moment, run, get a drink of water, and come back. Scratch your foot, do something. Don't sit down and get me all mad. Oh, come on, man. Wait. No. Just find, think of, you gotta listen. We gotta learn to enjoy what we're doing. I enjoy what I'm doing. Verse 26. Right? Verse 26 reads as follows. Moses speaking. Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. Sounds like two things, right? It sounds like two things. One is a blessing and the other is a curse. So Moses is saying, I set before you, and again, if you I can't remember which one of the teachings I spoke about that word set. That word set is kind of foundational. It's like when he say I set it, it means it doesn't move. It's not supposed to budge. It's like built. It's like a rock set. It's built. It's steady. It's like write it on two tablets of stone. It's like, why stone and not two or parchments of paper or board? It's stone. Those words they mean things. Okay, those when you see things like that, set it in stone. It means it's there forever. Okay. He said that I set before you today a blessing and a curse. It sounds like two things. Okay? But I'm going to show you it's not two things. It's one thing, but it depends. That one thing, it's how you perceive it. It's how you perceive it and how you act with it or against it. I'm going to show you. I set before you today a blessing and a curse. Verse 27. The blessing, if you listen to the commandments of Jehovah, your Elohim, which I command you today. So, what is he talking about? He's talking about the commandments. So he's saying, I set before you today these commandments. And these commandments could be a blessing to you or a curse to you. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying, people. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. He said it's a blessing if you listen to the commandments of Jehovah. And the word listen incorporates doing. Okay? If you didn't listen, you can't do. You should do if you listen. But if you don't listen, you can't do. Because listen has to do with hearing and knowing and all that stuff. I don't want to go into that. I want to kind of finish up here. We're going to talk about the listening and doing and stuff more next week. So he says, he's talking about the commandments now. I'm giving you these commandments. And these same commandments, the one set of commandments, could be to you a blessing if you listen and obey and do them. These same commandments, not a different set, the same commandments could be a curse. Let's read verse 28. And the curse, if you do not listen to them, the commandments of Jehovah, but turn away out of the way which I command you today to go after gods which you have not known. Okay? So I'm going to close on this point, and we're going to pick back up here next time. We're talking about the standard. We're talking about the standard, the standard bearer. We're talking about the parameters within which we were created to function, okay? As his memory in the earth. We had parameters. We went over the parameters and it started again. The moon, the sun, the stars, the water, the mountains, the earth, none of those things, the trees, the wind, none of those things disobeyed their parameters. Everybody doing what they're supposed to do. The wind blows, when the wind blows, if the tree is there, you see the wind blowing because the tree moved. Right? Everybody is obeying except us. We the hard-headed ones. And Moses is making it plain here. He said, listen, I'm giving you these commandments. And these commandments that I'm giving you, to you, it depends on how you perceive, how you interact with them, whether you accept them or whether you deny them. If you accept them and do them, they will be a blessing. If you deny them and turn away, they will become a curse. The same commandments, they will be. And we're gonna go into all them things. And we're gonna look at where we are today. We're gonna look at the world today, and we're gonna ask the question: why all these things happening? Maybe it's because we were obeying. And on the other hand, we say, maybe it's because we were disobeying, or we still are disobeying. Okay? So, we're talking about the standard. How do we get back? How do we get back in the standard? And we close there for today. Turn with me to Numbers chapter 6. As I'm developing this habit of, in every session, in every teaching, in every lesson, every conversation, I want to go and close there because it's some powerful words. Numbers chapter 6, verse 22. It went to 22. Not 22. We're going to verse 22, not chapter 22. There you go. You ready? Read with me if you have your Bibles. And listen to the words as you read them, or as you listen to them, or as you hear them. And see how powerful these words are. Okay? Numbers chapter 6, verse 22 reads as follows. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and to his sons, saying, This is how you shall bless the children of Israel. You shall say to them, Jehovah bless you and keep you. Jehovah make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Jehovah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. So they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Shalom, goodbye, bonne nuit, adieu, until we meet again.